I mean, Shorty is just, man, you can't, Queen didn't even, your words can't express how beautiful a brother that this brother was. Yeah. He wasn't just loved because of his, everybody feared him. I mean, that was probably an initial situation, but when you knew him and you just gave him a hug, he didn't let you go.
Welcome everyone to Changing of the Hip Hop Guards. It is me, Uncle E. That's my partner, the journalist Sincere. And today we have the pleasure of having two lovely gentlemen and Queen joining us, Queen Muhammad Ali and Hakeem Khaaliq. Am I saying that correctly?
Saying it perfect, bro.
Good. Thank you. First of all, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure. Both of you guys, man, your list goes on and on as far as what you guys are into, from film directors to photography to artists, activists, writers, producers, on and on and on. We will talk about that in a few minutes. Today, we're going to talk about a film that you guys are working on, a documentary about Shorty, right? Yes. Before we get into that, though, if both of you could take a moment, tell us a little bit about yourselves, a little bit of your background, growing up and things that you have worked on, and then moving on, we will get into the topic of today, which is Shorty.
Okay. Well, you already know my name.
She's the queen.
I am a film director and visual anthropologist. Our focus is really on changing the image of Indigenous and Black culture, making sure that we have a positive image. So even like this film, it's dealing with, inner cities as what they call it, but still we don't want to focus on the negative image of that in the film, and we don't. So focusing on the positive outlook of even the gang life, and also just our neighborhood and community in general. That's really what our work is, whether we're in Samoa, in Colombia, China, wherever we're at, we're there to make the image of our people a positive one.
What she just said.
Everything the same for you then, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
So can you tell us, how did you guys meet?
Well, we actually met, we knew each other. I knew her father and her brother. And I actually was working on an archaeological exhibition in Mexico. And that's when we became really cool and friends, because we was the only people from South Central Los Angeles on this particular journey. So, we just started, we had the same lingo, the same thing, and we just became really good friends. And from there, it's just really, her knowledge of music kind of flattened me, because she was a lot younger. And I remember when we was just chilling one day talking on the phone, and I'm like, what's that playing in the background? And she was like, oh, it's Gangstar. And I'm like, yo, like, is that on the radio? He was like, nah, it's just my little MP3 player. I'm like, yo, you play Gangstar. It's like,
I gave the stamp, right?
Yeah, that was it for me right there. I was like, yo, this sister's off the chain. So yeah, we both pop heads, and I think that really is the glue that brought us together,
Okay, because Hakeem, I saw you before really getting into filming and stuff like that. You were more into music, right? Music producer.
Yeah, I was a music producer.
Radio personality as well.
Yeah. So
all right. So how did you go from that area into what you're doing now?
Well, actually, I started at doing radio. I did a couple radio stations, and then I was at Kiss FM in Burbank, and and they had a convergence model going on in the conference room. Being from LA, what I'm saying? I'm like, man, what are these white folks doing up in this little conference room? And they was like, well, we're doing the interactive, this is like 2000, what I'm saying? This is like early. They wasn't even Google didn't even exist yet.
Right.
I'm just like, man, what are you talking about? And they're like, yeah. So I just, kind of got involved with Kiss FM Interactive, and later on I actually became the program director for NBC Interactive, Kiss FM Interactive, and actually WBLS Interactive, WBLSI.
Nice. Okay.
Director. So from that, media, I always was, every time somebody asked me to do a beat, they also was like, yo, can you do this too? So it kind of meshed together because I was into graffiti and all that stuff, So,
Okay.
and that's basically it, just kind of, moving from that corporate situation, from doing it independently. And I started, landing a lot of marketing jobs. I did some stuff for Kobe Bryant, did some stuff for Carl Kanai when Carl Kanai was hot, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
And he really taught me a lot of the game as far as the design and the, stuff like that. So when I met Queen, it was like, man, this is a dope situation. So.
Right. Yeah, Carl Kanai was pretty early with what he was doing at that time.
Yeah, and he was based at that time. He was downtown Los Angeles. So I was definitely involved with the Nation very heavily, and so the Nation and Carl Kanai were really close. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Peace to the guys in Earth, peace to Sincere. You know what I'm saying? The guys in Earth. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah. But yeah. You got it real.
So,
you know what I'm saying?
I don't mean to cut you off, but so both of you grew up in Los Angeles, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, Hakeem, how did you get introduced to the 5% Nation, and what led you to that lane?
I mean, surprisingly, y'all just don't understand that, with KDAY, that introduced us to Lakim Shabazz and to, Chill Rob G and,
King Son and all that.
King's Son. King's Son and Shorty were, like really, really tight. Like best homies, you know what I'm saying? Like when I had a problem, I called Shorty and then Shorty called King's Son. This happened like 2 or 3 times. And I'm on the phone with King's Son. And these are 2 like heavyweights on the West Coast and the East Coast, making sure that things went down. So, the Nation of Islam, the 5% Nation is very, very influential as far as the Los Angeles, So pretty much anybody that went to prison, got any type of consciousness, they went through those, those 2. I say those 2. Those are the 2 heaviest, influences as far as hip hop in Los Angeles, and as far as the consciousness within the street organizations as well. So.
Gotcha. And before I pass it to Sincere Queen, was your family a heavy influence in background as far as Islam went?
Yes, I grew up in the Nation, so definitely.
Okay. So your parents and so on were already into Islam. You were born straight into it and grew up with the teachings and everything.
Yes.
Okay. So
you guys were talking like early 90s. Can you guys kind of paint the scene of what South Central LA was like during that time?
Well, early 90s.
Crip walking.
I was early 90s. I don't know. I think I was like 6 years old.
Oh shit, she's a baby. You know what I'm saying?
I think I kind of remember at that time, but I was really young.
I kind of asked because you guys navigated toward a positive route.
Yeah.
And like can you talk to us a little bit about how you didn't fall to the pitfalls of South Central LA?
Well, I can speak on that probably more than Queen on this one, because Los Angeles is gang affiliated. It doesn't matter where you at. That is going to be an area that's, a street organization is going to be a part of. You can't escape that. So me, myself, personally, I was a hip hop head. So hip hop influenced, Africa Islam came from Zulu Nation, came and hooked up Ice-T. The history is definitely, it's going to always go that route, no matter what. As far as me personally, I was listening more to the conscious hip hop artists that KDAY was playing. So I don't know if y'all know this because y'all on the East Coast, but there was no such thing as gangster rap. It didn't exist. That doesn't, and that's one of the things that we actually put in this film was important, that Shorty played a part in making sure that the history was correct. That gangster rap, no, gangsters don't rap. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
because unless you already, I was talking to Jesse James from, this is like an OG, triple OG type dude, talking to him a couple of days ago. And he's like, you don't talk about things that you did. You talk about things that you got caught. Because now, if you already went to jail for something, you talk about those things.
Right.
So anyway, as far as the gang culture, most of the heavy influence of the nation, Minister Farrakhan, the 5% Nation, Father Allah, all that stuff was coming through hip hop. It really wasn't coming from the streets because we too ignorant in Los Angeles to get it like that. You know what I'm saying? So hip hop is what navigated us toward that. So I joined the Nation of Islam when I was 19 years old. And that's, I'm telling my age now, but that was 89. So, that's just how it was. And everybody I knew was listening to Brand Nubian. Everybody knew was listening to King, that's just how it was. So when the gangster rap came, a lot of us was like, man, we're not even really listening to that because it didn't make any sense, so not taking away from it, what I'm saying? I still get my Mac 10, I still listen to Cube, I still listen to, because Death Certificate literally was that album that changed it because it went from and I'm saying this, even though I'm talking too long on this, but NWA, they actually put a little bit too much on NWA, like that was a conscious rap group. It wasn't. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't a conscious. Public Enemy was the conscious rap group that NWA was trying to copy off of. So we have to put it in perspective. So the movie made it like, NWA was this activist conscious group, but they wasn't. You know what I'm saying? It was just LA street talk, and they did it. They did it and made it very popular. So that's what everybody gets the timeline mixed up. Snoop, Dre, and all that later on. That's later. That's way later. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Lynch Mob was out. Hieroglyphics, comes from the Lynch Mob.
Right. Dale was down with the Lynch Mob, right?
Yeah, not down. He was an original member of the Lynch Mob. Okay. The Lynch Mob is not DA Lynch Mob, it's THE. So, it's like the Lynch Mob was Ice Cube's crew. You know what I'm saying? Because he had two ideas. He had two things that he wanted to do. And that was either go Lynch Mob or WC in the Mad Circle.
Right.
And that's they chose Lynch Mob,
Gotcha.
Anyway, I'm shut up.
No. It's cool.
You're good.
It's cool.
we
actually need, yeah. We like to hear all these stories because sometimes not everybody always tells it, or they leave something out.
Yes,
because it's interesting that you said that NWA was. I've heard that also, that they were sort of a conscious, or at least that they started off somewhat of a conscious group. And they always go back to, and they point out to like their very first songs, that they weren't necessarily like what they so-called known for, like gangster. They were more, I don't know, I guess conscious.
Street reporter. More street reporter.
Yeah, but what was that song that had Express
Yourself? Was that?
Right. Like
he said,
they weren't really talking like.
Yeah, and he was like, after the show, I go looking for you go looking for the dope man. Like he was talking about how bad it was with fake rappers. They really drug addicts, but
right.
That's how it started off, and then it turned to something else. So.
Gotcha. Okay, that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So Queen, we talked. I mean, Hakeem gave us a whole breakdown into a lot of the stuff that he was going on. What was Queen doing growing up, teenage years in South Central? What were some of your interests? What was some? Because I'm saying, what Sincere asked at some point, I'm sure you had to deal with some of those issues as well, as far as navigating through South Central and LA and stuff like that.
I was very, very protected because I grew up in the Nation. My mom and dad. My dad is from Watts. My mom is Samoan, so she grew up in the Carson area and Torrance, like all that area. But anyways, when I was growing up, I was only around the Nation. Like I was very sheltered. I didn't go to a public school. I went to a private school. So for me, on my outlook, I just felt like everything with hip hop was like positive, like because I didn't see all the crazy stuff because my parents
curated it for you.
They curated everything for me. yeah, it wasn't until like later, when BET started coming out and all that kind of stuff, when I started seeing a lot of the change going on in hip hop. But as far as Los Angeles, we're around the FOI, and they had like the whole area in LA at that time. It was basically like no drugs or nothing in that area where the mosque was and all of that. So I was cool at that time until later when it just got crazy with the riots coming out and all that.
Okay. Did the Queen participate in any type of elements with hip hop? Did you break dance, graffiti, any any hidden talents that they might
Um,
not know?
well, I used to airbrush all the time, like
Okay,
airbrush like portraits on T-shirts and sell them in LA.
nice,
Yes,
nice.
that's something that I used to do all the time. I did a portrait of Snoop, Tupac, Missy, a couple of other people.
She leaving out like the first project that we ever worked on was she actually made beats. I was working
Oh
with a friend
yeah,
of mine
that's
at
right.
MTV, and the crazy show Adventures in Hollywood, right?
Okay,
So I was actually working with the music supervisor with that show, and my publishing company was like the main publishing company for that whole show. So I hit up Queen and her family because her whole family makes beats and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, yo, I need some more tracks. So they got music and beats on that show, and
nice.
she made beats. So it's like she's just trying to be all
She's
humble.
being modest. Okay. So here on the East Coast, we had the shirt kings. So I guess you could be considered the shirt queen out there in LA. Gotcha. That's dope.
That is my real name. I didn't name myself Queen. My parents did. So just
The
want to put
the
that out.
queen part, you mean?
Yeah.
Queen. That's my real name. Yeah. My government.
Okay. Really?
Her slave name.
My government.
I'm glad you say that. I kind of assumed that it was probably once from the nation or something.
No.
But okay. Wow, that's pretty dope.
Yeah. Thank
So when you guys met earlier on, what kind of discussions and conversations about some of the ideas and activities that you guys were working on? What were some of those early conversations of, like-minded individuals and what you were trying to achieve?
Well, like he said, we were really working in Mexico when we met with some others, like scientists and doctors that were doing work with the indigenous people of Mexico. There's an entire civilization and society of Black people in Mexico that are like invisible, that nobody talks about. And so we were working on a project down there doing research and how to help those people also. And so our conversations was really about that work, anthropology, and then we really started talking about hip hop because that's what we loved,
Everything
right?
is hip hop.
Right.
But I will say too that our early conversations was really about doing stuff fresh. And I always say this. I'm very blunt when it comes to stuff, especially when it comes to hip hop. When it comes to hip hop, I just like a lot of people don't really understand how significant that art form is,
Yeah.
and especially on the West Coast, because when it got to the West Coast, it was more monetized. So it was like more of how much money can we make and how crazy can we be to make money. But the art form is still in Los Angeles, all elements. It's not just rapping, gangster rap. It's the graffiti, it's the breakdancing, the fashion, everything is there. And so Queen and I's conversations was like, man, always, how can we do something to make it dope? How can we do something to make it fresh? How can we take anthropology and spin it to make it fresh to young people? Because we're seeing all this dope information firsthand, not from books. Because in the anthropological sectors, a lot of the books are written by people who actually never even traveled to the area, and then they wrote a dissertation, and then this person wrote a dissertation, and they wrote all these books, and it's based off of just hearsay. Right. So Queen and I have been blessed with our first conversations, like, man, we need to go there, we need to, like, I used to tell her I want to do a documentary on indigenous culture and just go all around the world and do this. And So we always had those conversations, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, because I don't think I've ever even, I don't remember hearing in any conversation, at least that I've been around, anthropology, when it as far as giving it, like you guys are saying, like a dope freshness to it that a younger crowd can maybe be attracted to and want to pursue or find out more about, and sort of merging that with it. Like that's pretty dope. You guys, I mean, because you've been, like I said, photography, almost everything that you guys have touched on, you sort of try to bring that type of merge together.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's natural for you guys because that's what you love, but for someone on the outside, you know, like I said, that's a really pretty cool approach, man. Like I said, I don't know if you sincere have ever even thought of anthropology in a hip hop type of.
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
We actually did a TEDx talk. We didn't have no time to prepare, so don't completely like just critique it too much. But we actually did a TEDx talk about visual anthropological activism, and one of the reasons why we did that TED talk is because when we were in Mexico, one of the things that we got from it was, you know, you go to the areas of Costa Chica, which is like predominantly more dark-skinned people.
Right.
And you're there and they're like, oh, me feo, I'm ugly, don't take my picture. I'm like, damn, like this was crazy. Like, why are they saying that? These beautiful people, you know? And so we started seeing that, and we started realizing that the stereotypes that we're not paying attention to are affecting these people. And they were affecting also in American Samoa when we started traveling to the Pacific Islands. Like, you know, the highest rate of suicide is in the Pacific Islands because the images of Moana, that's not true. But, you know, you see this image of a big Samoan and fat and all this stuff or whatever.
Right.
That's not really the culture. When you go back 100 years, they're thin, they look fit, you know. It's a reason why these are football players, you know what I'm saying? Because they're strong. They have,
right.
You know, they're not just big dudes, big people. So those stereotypes are being portrayed and pushed out. Our culture, you know, different people, different indigenous cultures, but these are negative stereotypes. So one of the things that we want to do was homogenize that and dispel each stereotype. So one of the first stereotypes that we actually went after was cannibalism. So we actually had to study anthropology, which is the study of cannibalism. And we actually traveled to New York and studied at Stony Brook University.
Okay.
So, you know, so anyway, you know, that's how we kind of started to put that together. I mean, we're hip hop heads, but at the same time, we're like, that has a negative stereotype also, you know?
Right.
And so it really just meshed with what we were doing, you know?
Yeah, that's so cool, man. It's so interesting.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about your early projects? I see you guys work with Kobe Bryant, some guy named Kobe, some guy named Michael Jackson. I mean, can you talk a little bit about
the local dudes, right?
Yeah. Can you talk about some of those early projects?
The Queen.
Well, Kobe.
Oh,
yeah,
Kobe was interesting because when I was at NBC, he had started his record label called Heads High. And so I was blessed because I was probably the only black dude in the office. And they're like, yo, you know, we got a black guy in the office. No, I'm just kidding. But kind of that's true. But I was able to help him and his brother-in-law to kind of like some of the marketing, some of the early stages of Heads High Entertainment. So I was in the studio with him and Tyra Banks. It was crazy. I still got that footage somewhere. Maybe we do some documentary thing one day.
You did the treatments for a few of their.
Yeah. We did I did some treatments for like Adidas and stuff like that. I wrote the treatments. So it was like, that was kind of like the first client that I had that was independent of NBC. Kobe and Snoop was like the first clients that I was able to do some marketing and design work, because I was doing a lot of design work at that time. So, you know, I hadn't got to all the way doing film. I was still kind of in my transition stage. And, you know, that was like just before, you know, I started to, you know, build with Queen also. And the Michael Jackson thing was what we did together. The T.I. stuff is what we did together, you know. So
let's talk a little bit about that Michael Jackson. I mean, I mean, don't just kind of, you know, act like. Yeah.
With the Michael Jackson project, he hired us to do a whole marketing campaign for his This Is It tour. We were doing like a direct connection with the audience through SMS at that time when it like first came out with the This Is It tour. And then after that, after the tour, we were actually scheduled to go on the tour.
Yeah, we were supposed to be in London at
yeah,
the mansion with his whole
with the
entourage.
entourage and everything. And then also we were hired to do his Earth Song campaign. He wanted to really focus on his philanthropy and working with the environment, and how he was going to really, really push that the following year after the tour. And then, of course, he passed away. So, it was crazy. But
I remember when Queen called me up and was like, "Yo, Michael Jackson just passed away." I was like, "That gotta be a rumor, because we about to get this money." Like, no way, there's no way this is really happening. It was so sad.
How did you guys come across his radar?
Well, that's one thing that the nation, I have to be, straightforward. One of my best friends to this day is Alberto Alvarez. He's the actually person who actually gave Michael Jackson mouth-to-mouth resuscitation when they found him.
Yeah.
And he was in the nation. He's just a Mexican brother in the nation. But we was real tight, real close. A lot of the Mexican brothers, of course, going to Mexico all those years.
Okay.
All of the Puerto Rican and what I'm saying, all those brothers is like real close to Queen and I because of that connection.
Gotcha. Wow, that's crazy. That's really dope.
Before Alberto took our presentation and showed it to some of the management with Michael Jackson, because we had already put together a whole campaign. Like, we just put it together like we're gonna show it to Michael Jackson tomorrow. And when they saw it, they was like, "Yo, this is crazy dope."
Right. So did you get a chance to actually meet him?
I met him like for a split second one time, but you got layers of
yeah. But so somebody, I'm saying, like, in other words, to be able to give like you guys the okay for certain things or whatever, that was strictly going through whoever was in charge of running that stuff.
His manager, his management, all that,
dealing directly with the management team.
The management.
Nice. And what about that film? Excuse me. There was the Kobe Bryant, that short film that he did. I forget the name of it right now. Oh man, it was like a black and white, almost like a cartoon, like a sketch looking.
That he was working on before he passed?
I believe it came out. I remember they showed or received an award, actually.
Oh, okay. Because I know
you guys.
No, we didn't have that.
You didn't have anything to do with that one?
My Kobe Bryant days was 2000.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, no, that was it. When he did the first Kobe sneakers, that's what I was working on.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The other one that everybody laughed at. I still got a cop. I still got mine in the closet. You know what I'm saying?
Really. Nice. Before I forget, I want to show you something and just tell me what it means to you real quick, Hakeem. I don't know if you can see this book right here.
Oh, come on, man. That's Jamil Shabazz. That's the homie.
Oh, yeah.
That's the homie. I love that brother. Matter of fact, he's one of my mentors as far as photography. I love that brother so much. He's helped encourage and also like just be a really good brother to myself and to Queen,
Okay. How did you cross paths with him?
5%, bro. Come on.
Okay.
Look, we know each other. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. All right. I'll tell you a quick funny story actually about this, that I showed you this book.
Yeah.
So I was working in Manhattan a few years back, and I'm walking by, and in one of the stores, as I'm walking, I see the book in the window.
Yeah.
And me, hip hop head, I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. I went in, checked it out, and I bought it. So I was working at a printing company at the time, and we had two locations. There was one that did like photocopies, Xerox, all of that kind of stuff, and I worked in the other location that was printing, like offset printing. So I stopped in the location where they did the photocopies and all that, and there was I can't remember his name right now, but there was a young brother working there that I fairly knew, that I had just met. We would always talk. I went in to say what's up to him. So I'm in the back and I'm showing him the book that I just bought. And he goes back up to the counter. I go back up, and there's a gentleman on the other side of the counter. And he says to me, "Yo, E, this is Jamel Shabazz. This is the book that you just bought. That's his book. And I was like, get the hell out. I said, I literally just bought this book on my way here. And he was like, that's him. So
he's so humble,
of
right?
course,
Humble
cool
dude.
So of course
Yeah.
I had to have him sign it since he was standing right there. And he said,
that's right.
Always keep your focus. This was in 2002. And one other funny thing about Jamel, I guess he went to grab some. So another funny thing about Jamel Shabazz was I met. Oh, look at yeah, you had to show me up with that one. Nice.
Yeah, we want
Nice.
kindred spirits, brother. Kindred spirits.
Yeah. But the funny thing about him was that I met him that one time.
That's
and
crazy.
Another time I'm walking through Penn Station and he was just standing there and recognized me, said hi, said what's up. And back then I wasn't even thinking about doing any type of online radio or anything like that. And he said to me, he's like, dude, you should get into radio. You have like a good voice.
Yeah.
You should get into radio. This was in 2002. 2008, I started doing like online radio it wasn't called podcast at the time, but it was just so funny. You know, how like you just said, like how things, you meet someone and here we are. And then I saw that you had a connection, or both of you had a connection with him. I was like, wow, that's great.
We call brother Jamel Shabazz, we call him the triple OG. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, no, he's very just want to give him a shout out.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite photographers amongst a few others.
Definitely.
But yeah, shout out to Jamel.
And see, and in reality, what he did is visual anthropology.
Right. That's why
for the next generation, because we ain't dressing right no more. You know what I'm saying? So Jamil kind of captured what it really was. So
right.
Brother, man.
Yes, sir.
We're here today to talk about the documentary coming up short. Can you take us all the way back to how this came about? Because Shorty is definitely an unsung hero. Man. I'm very interested in how you guys focused on him, just all the background. Let us know how that came about.
Well, let me just say how I met Shorty. So I actually, he was my dad's friend in the mosque, in the nation. So I didn't know anything about Shorty. I just knew Brother Jerome in the mosque. And I thought he was like a really nice person. He was, I think I met him when I was like maybe like 13, something like that. And he would come over to our house. I just saw that as my dad's friend, somebody I was talking about the teachings and all that kind of stuff. So, I never met Hakeem yet at this time, of course. But later when I met Hakeem, he was telling me, oh, I know Brother Shorty. And I was like, who's Shorty? He's like, Brother Jerome. I was like, oh, like I didn't know that was his name. Then later, as time progressed, I started learning, oh, he was Crip. Like he was like, I didn't know anything about that side of him at all.
Yeah, we knew two diametrically different people.
Mm-hmm.
She knew Brother Jerome Muhammad, and I knew Brother Shorty. And we didn't know it was the same person.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you, Hakeem. So when you knew him as Shorty, you didn't know that he was in the nation?
So I met him at Savior's Day, 2002. And a brother who's the assistant minister in the nation, Brother Minister Charles Muhammad, was like, yo, I know a brother that's working on his album project. Do you know Shorty from the Lynch Mob? I'm like, nah, I wasn't a big fan of the Lynch Mob. This is true. I'm not going front.
Right.
I'm not going front. Shorty know this too. So I was like, yo, nah, no, I don't know him. So he took me over to his booth and he was selling all this, the CD. And I was like, yo, and he's like, he needs a website. So at that time I was the marketing dude. Everybody knew me to doing all this stuff with Carl Kanai and all that stuff. I was like, yo, so I got his information. He's like, you need a website. I went to visit him for the first time. And I went to where he was living. And I'm saying it straight up. I was completely like tripped out because he was living in the jungles. That's where Denzel Washington did.
Right, Training Day.
He was living there. And I didn't know anything about him except for he's just a brother in the nation. He was, work with Ice Cube or whatever, and work on his website. And we just chop it up. And we just was like, instantly, we just clicked like brothers. So I was like, damn, it's crazy. He's so cool. And then he started telling me, about how he used to be this and that and whatever. And I was like, wait, what? But how can you be a Crip and you live in the jungle?
I was just gonna ask you. I could have sworn the jungle was.
So
blood,
there's another rapper who's actually in the film. His name is Squeak Rule. And Squeak Rule is in a group called All From the Eye, All From Inglewood.
Yeah.
And he's from Piru Bloods. And beautiful brother, man. Oh my God. I just had a conversation with him like 2-3 hours a couple days ago. And I was like, yo, the first time that I ever went to Shorty's house, I was leaving, I just seen this dude flamed up wearing all red when we was coming out the house, right? Coming out the spot. And I'm getting to go, and Shorty's walking to me in the car, and he's like, Shorty. I said, dude, that was you. That was you, Squeak. And he was like, yo, I don't even remember that. And I'm like, yeah, that's just how much love Shorty got, because, you know, he changed, you know, he was working with Bo Taylor, Unity One. He was working with Jim Brown, you know, to unify those street organizations, you know what I'm saying? So he just got all the love. Nobody, because he was like, ain't nobody doing it, to me out here, I'm like, man, you crazy. I'm trying to get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gang affiliated.
That's
so, yeah, so that was like my introduction to Shorty. And then from there, it's like, yo, what you doing? I'm like, because I live like about geographically, I lived at that time in Colton, California. He was in LA. So it's, it's like a good hour drive. What you doing? Man, you bring the camera. I'm about to go do this and I'm about to go do that. Can you go with me? I'm teaching a class at American with Jim Brown. I'm like, yo, like bring the camera. But we didn't know what we were shooting. Right. We're just shooting. We're just having fun. So, our relationship, he would bring me to the hood, and I have to, give his set. I can't just say he was in the street organization. He was one of the founding members of Marvin Gangsta Crips.
Right.
He wasn't just a gang, member. He was a founding member of that organization, and gets a lot of love.
Is it correct that he was about 11 or 12? I read when he actually formed.
Yeah. Dude was crazy. He was crazy. I mean, listen, I'm talking to his homies, and they like, yo, shoot him up, Shorty. That was his name.
Can you even imagine 11, 12 years old to have the mind set to even think of putting something like that? I mean, I'm sure that when they first, they didn't, or maybe he did, I don't know, realize to what it was going to become.
Yeah.
But still, 11, you look at some 11, 12-year-old now, they're barely even,
they playing video games,
wiping their butt, right? You know what I mean? But so, Queen, so I think we kind of cut you off in the middle, but you said when you started to find out a little bit now who Jerome Muhammad was as Shorty, what's going through your mind?
Well, the craziest thing is I really didn't find that out until we did the main interview for the film. I mean, I knew his name was Shorty. I knew that he, had some type of, street organization affiliation, but I didn't know the depths of it until we did the interview with him. Because, me growing up, I was like, oh, this is a brother in the nation. He also was in the music industry, because my mind at that time was he was in the music industry working with Q, and the whole Mad Circle, Lynch Mob, all of that. So that was my image of him growing up. But when we did the interview for the film, it's some things that he said that we couldn't even put it in the film. Like, it was just crazy. And so after the interview, I was like, wait a minute, do I really know this brother? Yeah, he was talking about the Crip module, and it was just so much I can't even explain it, But it didn't change my outlook on him, because he's a very, very loving brother, especially with all his children. That's all he talks about is his children and his family. So, but me seeing that other side of him gave me an outlook on the how he has that OG status and why is he so respected, because he changed his life from just being I guess, like a ruckus to just really trying to join these organizations together and making sure that, you know, the younger children don't have to go through what he went through to realize later that's not the right path, you know. So
Now, Hakeem, you said you met him in around 2002, and you were
2000.
going around shooting, not knowing what you were shooting. So,
Yeah.
at what point did you know
Hey,
things were starting to?
camera shooting,
It was
and video shooting.
video, photos,
Right.
whatever.
No, I just want to make that clear.
I drive by.
You going around with Shorty and talking about shooting.
Yeah.
So we should know which one it is.
Right. You were going around doing photography, and
Yeah.
so at what point did things start to take shape, and you guys had a direction on, you know, what you were trying to accomplish with Shorty?
So actually, it's interesting because we were shooting everything and just going around, just having fun, and just, you know, we from similar hoods too. I don't know if you know how the gang association when it comes to Crips. So it's, you know, you have different cars. You have different gangster cars. You have the neighborhood cars. So Nipsey was neighborhood Crips. You know, A-Tray Gangster would be like gangster Crips. So because Marvin Gangster Crips is where Shorty's from, I grew up in A-Tray Gangster Crip neighborhood, which is like Monster Cody. So we already had that kind of cool, like there was a vibe where we kind of know some of the people and stuff like that, right? So we just having fun, but we decided to start working on a film about the different organizations that were doing gang intervention. So Unity One, Jim Brown, all the different organizations at that time, Venice 2000 with Stan Muhammad, all these different organizations that were working to try and, you know, keep the cease of this truce going on. And so we actually did a documentary like that, and someone stole the whole concept and went behind us and started doing all the interviews over and sold that to, it's actually a documentary that's out, and it's based off of everything that we did. So so it never came out, and I wanted to sue the hell out of those people. And
What wasn't an inside job, was it?
I was going to just
somebody?
ask, how did that?
It was somewhat inside, but they didn't know that. So basically, they didn't know what we were doing, and that person sold the idea to somebody else, and they went and got the funding and everything before we even, you know, finished. And then, you know, they stole the name and everything. It was just completely. So those people were doing the interviews thinking, oh, okay, Shorty hooked this up.
Okay, right.
You feel me?
Oh,
and so that's basically what they did, and they got over. But they turned the film not from gang intervention, but they did the same thing that you always see.
They glamorized the whole.
And not showing the work and showing the beauty and the camaraderie, you know, between these organizations that used to be trying to kill each other, and now they're cool. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where me and Shorty just was like, yo, man, we can't let that happen again. So when we started to work on this film, you know, we did it in complete secrecy for at least maybe like the first 2 years, because it took us 5 years to do this film, because we self-funded it ourselves. Me, Queen, and our other partner, his name is Steve Muhammad, another Mexican brother. He's the one who actually really came up with the concept. He's like, man, have you guys ever thought about doing a documentary with Shorty? Because I'm telling him all these crazy stories that Shorty's telling us, you know.
Right.
Like, yo, that would be dope. And I was like, Shorty, what do you think about doing a documentary on sorry about that. He's like, let's do it. You know, basically, you know, I mean, Shorty is just, man, you can't, Queen didn't even, your words can't express how beautiful a brother that this brother was. He wasn't just loved because of his, you know, everybody feared him. I mean, that was probably an initial situation, but when you knew him and you just gave him a hug, he didn't let you go. Like he would hold on to you for that a little longer, and just that little bit, you know.
And that was one of the things that, you know, he expressed to us even in off camera, that growing up him growing up in these street organizations, it wasn't just about, you know, going and raiding people and causing crazy situations, but it was more about the brotherhood between them and trying to really protect the neighborhoods. That's what it was about initially. Then it turned to something else later, But really what he was telling us is that, they had a code of conduct with each other. They would always stand up for each other. They wouldn't rat each other out. If they did something wrong, they wouldn't put it on the other people and, take the fall. They would take the fall for each other, really just having a code of conduct between the brotherhood and learning that. And he was telling us that, nowadays amongst the gangs, it's not as much as I guess love in that situation where everybody got each other's back. It's more about getting the bag, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that he was explaining to us.
Shorty told us a lot of intricate, details of his relationship with Q. And when Queen was talking earlier about some of the crazy things that he said in the interview, some of the stuff he had never told me. He's not gonna say that to a sister, but he had to say it when in the interview. We actually had to consult early on with our attorney, one of our attorneys, to make sure that we could even put this in the film, because it was so crazy, some of the stuff that he was doing, at an early age, but
and
so
she was like, there's no statute.
Yeah, there's no statute limitation on attempted murder or murder. And it's like, damn, and I'm like, Shorty, I don't know if you can put this in the movie, man. He's like, I don't give a fuck, But I'm not trying to make Q look bad or whatever, but even like Straight Outta Compton, that story of the above the law at the New Music Seminar, that's Shorty that started that fight.
That intricate.
Q wasn't even in that fight. He was on the panel with Chuck D, Dub C, and a few other people. He was on the panel, and Shorty just set it off. He's the first person to sock somebody in the head or whatever he did, And Straight Outta Compton, when Q went to go get his money from
at the office,
with the office, that wasn't Q with the bat, that was Shorty.
Really?
Yeah, because he was tired of Cube and them talking. He was like, you know what, uck all this and just start busting everything with the bat. But he told me even more about the story. You know what I'm saying? He said that when they left the office, they was on their way to getting the cars, and the SWAT team and everything came. That's not in the movie. And when the SWAT team came, they was like, yo, and the dude came out the office, he was like, we're okay, right? We're okay? We're good, right? And they was like, yeah, we good. That's the real story, So when
fun fact.
So like even the story of I know y'all hip hop heads, so I know Summer Vacation by Ice Cube, right?
Right. He was St. Louis.
So he's St. Louis. So Shorty and JD was telling Cube that story on the plane. Shorty said when they was getting off the plane, Ice Cube started busting those lyrics. That's just how prolific writer Cube was. Shorty said that brother is such a prolific writer, you don't even understand how good of a writer he is. He said he was like 4 or 5 niggas in him, like professional gang bangers. He just like they was like, wow, we just told you this story and you just wrote it like bam on the plane. Like that's so a lot of the street credentials, a lot of street stories, was definitely, he just was that dude,
Is Ice Cube involved with this project at all?
Well, I would say that with Q, he did help with I don't want to give away the film, but he did help with a portion of something that was filmed in the film, and he has an executive production credit on the film.
Okay.
But,
okay.
Who else may we know that might be involved with this project?
DJ Chili Chill, I mean, that's my homie forever. You know what I'm saying? Like that dude, man, he came in and really helped us with the film,
He has a lot of archival footage,
photos,
a lot of history.
Y'all know who DJ Chili Chill is, right?
Absolutely.
Wasn't he on the Lynch Mob?
Move.
Yeah,
he did jacket for beats, he did.
Yeah.
So he definitely is very, very instrumental in getting all of that information to us.
Yeah, and then also a lot of the family of Shorty, they're heavily involved with this project. His daughter Jacquees, his son Josh is actually playing him in the movie. Jerome Jr., Autumn, his brother Jeff, his mom. Actually, one of the first screenings that we actually did for the film during COVID, there was not a lot of physical screenings. So we had a screening at D5 Film Festival in Nashville, and we were able to get most of the whole family out, and they saw the film with an audience of, white folks, and and they was in there crying and laughing, and I think it really helped, everybody like, wow, and it made us know that we really had something too,
What kind of feedback? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay.
Oh no, go ahead. It's okay.
Oh, just what kind of feedback were you guys getting after that screening?
Oh my God, it's crazy because that screening in Nashville was not the audience that we thought would even understand the film, because it's Nashville, it's country, but once the film was over, there was literally like white women in the audience crying because they could not believe the transformation that he made, and then also just how many people he touched. And so it was like really, really good feedback from everybody.
And then we also went the next film festival after that was physical, was in Brooklyn, the hip hop film festival in Brooklyn, and we won Best of the Fest. So we were the last film that they wanted to showcase for the closing night. And man, I guess the question and answer session was supposed to be like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it lasted an hour.
And they just focused on, me, Queen, and Steve, the executive producer in the film, because, it's still hip hop, but at the same time, we covered a lot of ground in a very short amount of time. We didn't just keep it, like the same old story that you hear of Los Angeles. We went a little bit deeper into, you have to think about it. Shorty being a real, gang banger, but not wanting to rap about gang life. So think about that. Now everybody wants to rap about gang life, but ain't a gang banger. So it's a very interesting dynamic, of him just like, nah, man, he's like, I ain't rapping about that. I ain't going back to jail. You know what I'm saying?
I think when we talked to he was kind of opposite, right? Because I think he was reluctant of getting into the nation. He wanted to kind of,
yeah. Matter of fact, Shorty said straight up, he said he was mad because T-Bone and JD was like, nah, we want to talk about some gangster stuff. He's like, let's call up Cube. And then Cube was like, nah, y'all need to be on this, political stuff.
Right. He did talk about, JD talked about that as well.
Yeah. That was a good interview that y'all did. I thought that was a good interview.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Speaking on that, this is what I'm interested to know, because obviously you guys have mentioned Shorty did have a certain type of lifestyle that he had at one point in time, right? Things that he probably did that I'm sure he wasn't too proud of afterwards. Have you guys had any type of kickback, bad talk, anything involved around this film when it comes to people that say like, hey, why are you guys even doing a film about this guy who did all of these crazy things at one time? Were there nothing?
Well, I mean, if you saw the film, then you wouldn't even have that question.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Well, I meant more like as far as when you guys were maybe trying to pitch to make it, was anybody giving you guys like a hard time?
Well, like I said, we actually started working on it in secret.
Yeah, it was just
because I was like, Shorty, we're not getting another idea stolen from us, bro. That's too much money and too much time.
So by the time you guys are presenting it to like the different screenings and film festivals, you kind of
the film was done. It was done. It wasn't like, oh, you didn't even know we were doing a film. Yeah. I mean, we literally did it in secret so tight that even our inner circle was like there's people in Shorty's family that has never even seen the film.
Okay.
And we talk to all the time.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not sending you the link.
Okay.
You gotta go to this festival. You gotta go here. You gotta until it comes out, because I love you, but we can't. You're not gonna jeopardize that. So no, we didn't get no kickback like that. No pushback. I mean, the thing that you have to really think about is a person like him. Everybody was like surprised, like, wow, you know, that's dope. Like, are y'all gonna do another documentary about such and such and such too? You know, like that's basically about it, you know.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool.
So at what point did you guys realize that you had everything you needed to put this story to the public?
Well,
We didn't.
the process of documentary filmmaking, it's not like making a narrative film that you see on the screen, because you have a whole script written out, you have the actors, the actresses, you tell them what to do, you finish it. With the documentary, we have real life situations. So in the middle of us shooting the film, Shorty began to decline with his health. And we didn't expect this at all. And a matter of fact, and I think that was 2019 when he really went to the hospital. His daughter let us know it was getting really bad. Hakeem flew out there to LA at that time. We still thought that, okay, well, once he gets better, we're gonna have, we gotta shoot some more and this and that. At that time, we didn't know, but it just his health started to go up and down, and then finally he never came out of the situation that he was in. Fast forward, we didn't know that he was going to pass away. So once that happened, at least we got the footage that we got. But that's when we started going to reach out to the family to get more information, things like that, to members of the Marvin organization, and then of course Chili Chill and other ways that we can get it finished, because we promised Shorty that we were gonna complete the film, and his family too, his mom too, and his mom was still alive at the time too. Rest in peace, Miss Mabel.
She passed away as well.
Yeah, she got a chance to see the film in Nashville. So we
did. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, like what Queen was saying is very, very interesting, because although we had did the principal photography for the film, there was still a lot of pieces that Shorty's talking about a particular person. He gave us all these photos, like tons of photos. But damn, we don't know who these people are because he's gone. Right. So now we have to talk to his brother. We have to talk to his daughter. We have to talk to his homie. We have to talk to Chili Chill. We got to talk to this person. I had a 3-hour conversation with Sir Jinx. Sir Jinx was supposed to score the film, and then he just went ghost on us. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just...
Kind of sounds familiar, huh?
Yeah, that's just Sir Jinx. Okay,
no, I'm sorry. We had him on one time. It was him and... Brother Jay.
Oh, Brother Jay.
They both were on with us. He was supposed to be a part of the interview, and like 5, 10 minutes?
3 minutes. 3 minutes he was
something
gone.
happened, the camera went off or whatever. That's all we got, Sir Jinx.
So we can relate. That's what I'm saying.
So I ain't just making that up.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah, Sir Jinx is off the chain. But yeah, I mean, literally, when we were doing the reenactments in the film, Shorty was in the hospital. So he would go in and out the hospital. And I remember when we did the reenactments on that one day, some of the days, with Josh, with his son. Because I'm just gonna say, me and Shorty was not sure that his son could play Shorty. Okay, we just did not think that was I didn't think that Josh, he's just such a nice kid, so cool. And I'm like, you can't play your daddy, man. You know what I'm saying? So I asked Shorty one day, I said, I hope this don't embarrass Josh, but I love you, Josh. Like I'm you're not my nephew. I said, Shorty, man, you think Josh can play you in the movie? He's like, I said, you think he could be hard? He said, man, he's softer than a cotton swab. And we just all laugh, But Queen was like, no. She was like, send me your Instagram, Josh, And she started working with him, and really, I mean, literally, when he got on the set that day,
he got into character.
I was like,
he was really good.
we had to turn him down a little bit, like, ooh, like you literally, like, So, but what I'm saying this all to say is that on FaceTime, Shorty was seeing all the actors, and he was like, "Damn, how you found it, man? She look just like that goddamn cop." Oh man, I hate that lady right there. Like, like it was beautiful because he was heavily involved with the reenactments. You know, he did the interview. We did 2 interviews. We did a 5-hour interview at a warehouse, and then we did another interview at a radio station, and we decided to use the interview at the warehouse because it was more you know, just more intimate, you know, and it just really you know, he wasn't doing well, like Queen said.
Right.
He, you know, he always made his point to be there for, you know, whatever.
He got a chance to see his son play, like sort of act out the role.
Oh yeah, he saw that, and he was just like, matter of fact, he was laughing the whole time. He's like, because you know, if you know Josh and anybody watching this, he was like, Josh, like he was like, wow, like Josh. So you know, he was just like super hype, you know, seeing his son, and his son did an excellent job, man.
Man, that's pretty dope to have a chance for his son to play his dad in such an important film, and then for him to be able to get to see his son reenact him, man. That's man. So you guys did a very wonderful thing, man. Really cool. It's really dope.
Yeah, it's a family. It's a family.
Really cool.
Yeah.
What's the official release date for this?
Good question. So we have a distributor in the UK, and we have a deal on the table right now. So I would say from the time of this recording right now, which is is it okay to say the date today?
Yes, absolutely.
August 28th. I'll say maybe within 4 to 6 weeks we should probably see it on some streaming platforms, but we're still kind of like, you know, dealing with some issues and different things, because you have to understand we did this independent, and we own the film. So when Shorty did pass, like Queen said, we didn't just take and say, okay, we were splitting this 4 ways, now we're going to split it 3 ways. We brought his family in and said, hey, you guys are going to take Shorty's percentage. So you know, this is owned by us. This is not a you know, like a big, you know, studio or something like that. So we did everything, the insurance, the attorney fees, everything, licensing, you know, we did everything ourselves. So we produced it, everything. So, you know, we just want to make sure we carry that all the way through, you know, that someone don't just capitalize off of all this work. And then on top of that, you have to be careful when you're dealing with a film this powerful, where they'll just shelve it. They'll give you money and be like, and just throw it on the shelf, and it never comes out. Right. And then you have no way, because a film that we actually did for the United Nations a couple years ago, that has Rhymefest in it. I mean, we can't even screen it because we don't have no rights to it.
You don't own it, right?
We don't own it. You know what I'm saying? We shot it, we directed it, we produced it, but you know, it's a short film for the United Nations, you know.
How tough was you know, taking care of the funding, being that you guys did this all independent?
Man.
Well, we
what I mean is, I'm sure you had to pay certain people that were on set and everything.
Well, how we did the funding was, of course, we came out of pocket. Then we had Stephen Muhammad, who also was the executive producer. He came out of pocket a lot.
Oh yeah.
We had a few grants that we received, an organization called ISF.
ISF.
They really helped fund it, a portion of it.
Yeah.
I think, did we get any other grants?
After that film, no.
No, it was just us
and
that one organization, and it took some time, but
we went on tour.
Yeah.
We actually took another film and we went on tour with that film, speaking in colleges, and took that honorarium and was, you know, from the speaking, you know, it was like a 9-minute film. We actually might play that film before we play this film at this particular screening.
And that particular film has to do with social justice and activism. It's only 9 minutes, so we want to get people in the mode of really thinking activism at the same time, because even though Shorty was definitely, you know, this leader in Los Angeles as far as the street organization, he also was a very, very, very influential activist in advocacy for bringing a truce to the gangs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what we want to focus on this day, is bringing the organizations together, you know, having the Bloods and the Crips in the same room, having the Samoans, um, uh, the Mexicans, everyone in the same
Christian,
room.
Muslim.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
everyone in the
saying?
same room coming together to think of something that will transform
Peace.
their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Very dope, very dope. Quick question: are you either one or both of you familiar with a brother named Supernova Slum?
no.
Mm-mm.
No, never heard of him on the East
Wait,
Coast.
wait, on the East Coast?
Yeah, he's from Brooklyn.
Oh no, no.
Super.
No,
Does he have
Supernova Slum.
Does he
I'm
have
gonna look it
a
up.
big afro?
Look at, he might have at one time because he always tends to have braids. He might actually have a bald head now. Look him up on Instagram. And the reason why I bring him up is because he's a gentleman that over here on the East Coast, like I said, he's from Brooklyn, was doing a lot of work as far as similar type of work as far as trying to unite, you know, obviously the Bloods and Crips that were here on the East Coast.
Oh wow.
And he actually brought I have a little funny story if you don't mind. One day I have a friend of mine. Yeah, but it's your time. I have a brother of mine named Onyx who was down with the group KMD, where
Okay.
MF Doom and all that came from.
Yeah.
He calls me up one day and says, "Yo, E, you want to come with me to this event?" It was in Brooklyn. I was working out there at the time. I'm like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "Yeah, Africa Bambaa's going to be there." So I'm thinking it's just some hip hop event. So I meet him at the place. I go inside. The room wasn't that big. It wasn't such a, it was a small room. Now you see my complexion, right? And this is like East New York, Brooklyn, which is fine. I have no problem navigating, but I'll tell you why I mentioned that. So I'm in the room and I'm hanging out, and Africa Bambaata's in the corner. So I'm like, yo, this is dope. I'm like not that far from him. And this is before all of the allegations and all of that came out. Little by little, the place starts filling up with people. And it's just more and more coming in, and I'm seeing red and some more red. And I'm looking around, the place gets packed, and now it's not a big room really. And I'm saying to myself, like, what the hell did my man bring me to? So I come to find out, I knew who Supernova Slum was because I had already met him at a prior event. So I come to find out it's an event that he put together where he brought a bunch of Bloods from New Jersey, from around the area and all that, but he flew out from LA the OGT Rogers.
Oh wow.
So OGT Rogers. So after everybody's packed in there, and I'm already like, man, I don't think that I should be here. But all of a sudden I see the crowd just like open up, and there was one person in the front, in the middle, and someone in the back, and the guy in the middle was OGT Rogers.
Wow.
And he brought him there to talk about what the Queen was explaining as far as what the organization originally was intended for, what it started out for.
Yeah.
And man, it got thick in there because I'm sure you guys are aware, as far as on the East Coast at that time, there were Bloods and Crips that maybe necessarily didn't really know the history exactly the way it was.
Yeah.
So when he got on stage and was he basically told them they were doing everything wrong.
Wow.
He's like, everything you guys are doing is wrong. And he heard a lot of feelings. But they had to submit to him, obviously, because it's the OG.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring him up. When you guys have a chance, look him up because he's done a lot of great work, and he might be somebody that you would be interested in talking to.
Definitely.
He has a lot of knowledge and when it comes to everything that you guys are talking about.
That's the most important piece of this whole thing, is because a lot of times, it's just that conversation that you just didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
So like, Shorty used to bring me to his hood, and, he was crazy, you know what I'm saying? I always tell this story that Shorty brought me to this guy's house, and I'm sitting on the porch, and these are OGs, like his OGs. And they like, Shorty's like, I'm gonna go across the street real quick, Hawk, I'm gonna be right back. He used to call me Hakizzle. So I'm gonna go across the street real quick. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm just chopping up with the dude. They like, you want something to drink? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just chilling. And he's like, yeah. They waited for Shorty to go across the street. And they just kind of looked. They was like, yeah, back in the days, we was gonna have to kill that, that end, because he was doing too much. He was like, he shoots somebody right there, and then next day, he's selling drugs right there. Then the next day it's like, man, he bring it.
Wow.
So Shorty come back across the street, and I don't know, maybe they just didn't know that I was gonna say nothing, but I was like, Shorty, man, your homie said they was gonna kill you. He said them niggas wasn't gonna do shit. That's Shorty, you know what I'm saying? That's how crazy he was. He was like, them niggas wasn't gonna do shit.
Wow.
Out here. But I'm saying, with that kind of bravado, you just never had those conversations, with each other. And it's funny, it's actually like, I can't even really explain it, like seeing two people that used to be shooting at each other and they love each other now.
Right.
I will tell this story that because I, since Queen let everybody know about Shorty being, his, health situation. When I was in the hospital, his daughter and I was in the hospital, we were just kind of playing like a little security when he was in the hospital. And this big old buff dude just came through the door, I'm like, man, I know I can't take this dude out. You know what I'm saying? Whatever he do, he gonna get something done before I get to him,
Right.
So his daughter kind of looked at me and I'm like, I don't know. She was like, excuse me, what's your name? He was like, my name is Mike. He's like, how's he doing? She's like, this, that, whatever. He said a couple things. He's like, my daughter went through the similar thing. He gonna, I'm gonna pray for him, whatever. He just started rubbing Shorty's feet. Now this man is like in a coma, basically. He started rubbing his feet. He went over to him. He whispered something in his ear, and he was just like, like you're gonna be good, bro. So when he's walking out the door, one of Shorty's homeboys like looked at him, and he looked at us, and he was like, when the door closed, he's like, do y'all know who that was? We like, nah. That nigga shot me. Him and Shorty was trying to kill each other for years. That's how much respect he had. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the respect. Like he wants him to be cool because they cool now. And so that kind of that I don't know if that's in other cities, in the barrels in New York. I don't know, because I have never had those conversations. That's why I would love to speak to that brother, because
I'll send you his Instagram when we get
that's
off.
the piece that we need to connect, because that's the anthropological part that people ain't paying attention to.
You know who you guys might know? Have you heard? You might be familiar with. Have you heard of Queen Afura? She's worked with like Erykah Badu. She does a lot of self-healing.
I've heard
that's his mother.
Wow. Are
that's
you
his mother.
serious? Wow.
Yeah. She's worked with like Erykah Badu, and she's done a lot of, a lot of other people, but she does a lot of self-healing and all that. So that's his mother, and he also does similar work besides, what he was doing as far as with the street gangs and all that. He's also a veteran, but he also does a lot of self-healing. He has like, books on self-healing and self-awareness, and
that's dope.
He's a deep brother. He does music as well too. I'll send you guys his Instagram when we get off.
Please.
And another person that you might be familiar and maybe you might want to work on is Queen Jonazda Wolf. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
That's our sister, man.
Okay.
Get out of here, man.
All right.
That's my little sister, man.
Yeah. She's dope. She's dope. I had the pleasure of interviewing her a few years back.
Oh yeah. That's
but okay, so you know her. But yeah. They do some great work, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Before we go, I need Queen to do me a favor. I don't know, you seem very quiet and calm, and I love that about you, but you got to do me a favor. Take this opportunity and please talk about two things for us. Yes. One would be the Nation 19 magazine that you guys have, but I also saw that you're also a director of the Samoa.
Manuia Samoa.
Yes. Can you please briefly talk about both of those projects?
Yes. Well, I'm going to start with Manuia Samoa. So Manuia Samoa is a program and also facility, social wellness hub in American Samoa. And we really made that because on the islands, there's our natural healers that work with the indigenous plants and also the physical massage therapy used throughout the ancient times. So our goal was and is to continue to document and archive that, because a lot of the youth on the island are not continuing those practices, and it's an ancient art on the island as well. And really, just like in the hood here in the states, just like in the hood here in the states, the majority of the island, I would say, maybe over 50% now. A few years back, it was about 50%, but over 50% of the island have diabetes. So it's been like you can see the DaVita places popping up everywhere out there, just like you see in the hoods. And it's something that is not necessary. Um, our people, including yourself and just indigenous people in general, were originally healthy people. We didn't have all these processed foods. We didn't have these foreign diets, which I consider colonized diets. And what our main goal with my Wia Samoa is to take us back, like go all the way back to where we were before all that came, and remember that history and those herbs, those plants. All of these things are necessary, because guess what? If we have another shutdown on the island, because like during COVID, the whole island was shut down, right? A lot of things weren't even coming to the island, like supplies and different things. But we still have a whole island full of all the plants. We have noni fruit just growing just in the backyard, just anywhere, and nobody really knows what to do with it.
Which is expensive as hell out here.
Very expensive, but literally, it's just lying on the ground. They grow like weeds out there. So we need to know the history and the knowledge of how to take care of ourselves without synthetic medicine. That's what Mawia Samoa is about. Now, going back into Nation 19, Hakeem and I started Nation 19 as a magazine focusing on different cultures and different designs in art. This piece back here is actually one of our pieces that it's a photo that Hakeem shot in Mexico of the Olmec head, which is a 9 foot, I don't know how many ton monolith. It's like a huge statue. But a lot of people don't know the history behind those statues. And we really wanted to have the youth focus on wearing pieces of art that has a tie back to indigenous culture, and not just focus on demonic stuff like they do now in hip hop. And that was really our focus, is to bring hip hop and indigenous cultures together and just keep it dope. So,
and I want to say too, when Queen is saying indigenous, Black people are indigenous.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm so tired of, people trying to alienate that away from, original people. And
Right.
so,
Like they just tend to think of like Native American.
That's not
Right.
that's not the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Anytime you are indigenous or aboriginal or original people, those are this is important that we put those, because when we first started doing Nation 19, we were just like, man, I mean, like Black Scale was big at that time. And they had all these images of like death and all this. Right. I'm like, that's not our culture. That's Megadeth. That's Judas Priest. You know what I'm saying? Which of course we were still loving that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was, but that's not our culture. Right. So we was like, let's put images on these shirts that young original people can be like, man, I'm proud. This is my culture. You know what I'm saying?
And the magazine also focused on a lot of hip hop. Like we did interview with Nas, Erykah Badu, Brother Ali, a few with Chuck D.
Chuck D, yeah, we
did a lot of interviews with them, and just really trying to get them to explain to us what people don't know about. Like, I didn't know Nas was an actual artist. Like, he draws.
Yeah.
All that stuff. At that time, I didn't know that. And Erica Badu at that time. She was focusing on her nonprofit foundation.
And even though I was just playing around, it was a physical magazine.
Yeah,
like it's really
magazine.
It's like the National Geographic, but a hip hop version of it. So we go all around the world. We even did the last interview, and you should look this up. We did the last interview with Michael Rupert. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And Michael Rupert was the dude who like brought down the whole Iran-Contra situation. I mean, this dude was like crazy. He told us in the interview, if they say that I committed suicide, don't believe him. I'm like, damn, they said he committed suicide. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Are the magazines, the physical ones, available?
Man, it's like because like I said, we started throwing our funds into this film, other film projects, but it's we're gonna revamp the magazine probably early 2024 because everybody was like, yo, like, because we did about maybe like 8 issues. Yeah, we did one digital issue that was all.
No, we did a couple.
But one of the digital issues was super dope. I'm gonna send you the digital issue.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you what it is. When you see the cover, you're gonna be like, it's dope. It's super dope.
Okay.
And it did. I think it had an interview with Immortal Technique in there too, right?
Yeah, Immortal Technique and Superman.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Please do.
Well, we're waiting on coming up short to hit platforms. What can we expect from you two in the future?
It's a secret. Never tell the Wu-Tang.
Boom.
Nice.
No.
I
can
mean,
respect
no,
that.
that's good. That's
that.
good.
Yeah, I can respect
like
that.
that.
Totally.
You can't say that and come back. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we will be on the lookout because it must be something, ancient Chinese secret or something that you got going on.
We appreciate you, brothers, and we appreciate platforms that are real. When I saw your interview and Queen, we saw the interview. It was like, okay, these brothers is this is real and not just doing it just for numbers. Yeah. And then I knew brother was probably 5%. Because I saw I was following him on Twitter for a while and knew about him already. The guy, sincere. So I was like, so when I saw you guys team up, I was like, man, that's dope. So I appreciate y'all. And we gotta, have our own outlets,
Absolutely.
For sure. Quick question. How did you guys even come across the interview? Did you just stumbled upon it or?
Damn.
I don't.
Because I guess anything with Lynch Mob is gonna come up.
Yeah.
We just always Lynch Mob everything.
Yeah.
So
no, that's dope. That's dope. I appreciate, sometimes, like I said, a lot of times we do this type of stuff and, it's hard to break through algorithms and when you don't have a big backing and stuff like that. So we really appreciate when we get any type of good feedback. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
We appreciate
it. Can you guys shout out your social media where we can keep up with you guys at?
Wait. Are y'all ready? You ready? Because we be throwing out some crazy stuff.
Just do your personal.
Oh, the personal?
Yeah.
My personal is boring. It's private.
Well, mine is just at Queen Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, just go her way.
Okay.
Go her way. I post pictures of me barbecue. I ain't doing nothing on social media. You know what I'm saying?
Nah. Lying.
Well, I need to wait. Well, I guess Queen can forward it to you because I'll send you like Supernova's link. Okay. And then I guess you can forward it to Hakeem. All right. Any last words you guys would like to say before we?
I just would like to shout out everyone that helped us with the film. Marvin, Shorty's family, Steven, Dan.
Oh, Dan the cameraman.
Yeah,
Dan the cameraman. Man, I love you, bro. Like straight up, man. It's like you can't even see that, and that's the oh man, that's so important. Now Dan is a white dude, right? Actually he was following Shorty before we started following together with the camera. So just a beautiful dude, and he always is, he helped us out because some of his footage is in the film as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So shout out to Dan the cameraman. Steve Muhammad L, that's my homie, straight up. I love you. Without him, I don't think this film would probably even be, here.
And some of the people that are in the film. Like,
oh my God.
Booyah Tribe.
Booyah Tribe.
Ooh,
Trey
okay.
D.
Trey D from the East Siders. We still trying to, that's the homie forever. Squeak Rule.
Tank.
Dub C is in the film. Tank is in the
Nice.
film. But I think the most important thing is really just Los Angeles, kind of got a little hurt with the 50th anniversary. I'm just being straight up. The 50th anniversary of hip hop, kind of glossed over the achievements or what happened on the West Coast and skipped over to like just the Snoop and the whatever. But you got Egyptian Lover, you got the Uncle Jam's Army, you got Ice-T and Rhyme Syndicate. You got a lot of history that that predated even Shorty, and so that's why I think it's super important that this film comes out, because Shorty kind of brings some of that history of why hip hop and what it did for the West Coast too. So yeah,
I know we just lost this. He might pop back in.
It's all good.
On the West Coast, because it's funny because I was telling Queen one time we were going back and forth, and I'm like, yo, it's a little hectic right now with all this 50th stuff going on, and we were trying since Sears is he's from Indiana. He lives in Indiana.
Okay.
So he came up to New York. I'm in New York. He came up to New York that weekend. So we were trying to get everywhere and get footage and whatever. But so for us here, for example, like you said, we saw Ice Cube, we saw Snoop. Ice-T was out here like weeks prior, about a month before that. He performed in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But so on the West Coast, were there events going on during this weekend or that you?
It was not a lot.
It wasn't a lot.
No.
So for us to actually do this screening, we actually were using that also, because we felt that although the West Coast didn't start at that time, we're still a part of this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's very important. And like I said, KDAY, that was the first the first all hip hop radio station that's in Los Angeles. Not taking anything away from New York. I know the roots.
Right.
But without us having that that the other side, because like I said, even though King T and Ice-T, they was gang affiliated, but they wasn't talking about gang life. You know what I'm saying? The first person that really do that was NWA, but not everybody was a part of that. That was NWA, and then it just stopped. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Q didn't even go with the gang thing right away. The West Side Connection is way later. You know what I'm saying? When Q first came, he was conscious. He had the Bomb Squad, right? Mm-hmm. So, Khalid Muhammad, you know what I'm saying? Hank Shockley and Chuck D. It's all part, we're part of that too. And we want to make sure that, we don't just get thrown, you know what I'm saying?
And then we just want to really pay homage to a lot of the people in Los Angeles that were able to bring that culture.
Yeah, to bring the culture
to us.
So. Yeah. Africa Islam, was like, very instrumental. I mean, Ice-T is from, I think he's from New York.
Jersey.
Yeah, he's from, he's from the East Coast, right. But he made his, but he knew people, and it's like that's that migration.
Right. The same like with Tupac and
Exactly. The migration is so beautiful, and I just want to make sure.
What part of Indiana are you from?
Anderson, you familiar with Indianapolis and all that? About 30 minutes.
Yeah. Shorty was originally from there, right?
That's what I was just about to say. That's crazy.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I gave you a little history. Since I gave you a little bit of someone else you can talk about Indiana.
Dope.
Nah, I'm joking, man.
I mean, the whole Los Angeles street organization. Tookie is from Louisiana. It's we really come from
with T. Rogers. He, I believe, was from Chicago. He was somewhere else originally, and then moved over to. I think he ended up in the jungle, right?
Yeah, because the history. The Damus, were originally, most of them. I'm not gonna say they were Crips, but a lot of the Crips, when Tookie started making everybody Crips, they was the ones like, nah, we ain't punks. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna just punk us. So that's why the Bloods came, because they was like,
Mhm.
we don't want to just get punked into being Crips. That's
Mhm.
basically how that started. So the
Right.
Pyrus and the Damus, you know, they started that more in Inglewood, and you know, but yeah, it's all the history, you know. But Bunchy Carter and you know, we got this the Black Panthers that started the Crips, you know, community revolution in progress.
Right. That's right.
You know, we got history, you know what I'm saying? So we part of that too. So that it's almost like it just went circle. You know what I'm saying? Gil Scott Heron and the last poets, the Watts poets, all that stuff. It's like whatever happened in New York was happening in LA, and sometimes we didn't even know about it. Because pop locking and you know, and locking was like that was on the West Coast, but then y'all was, you know,
do you guys talk about Shorty pop locking?
I mean, we didn't really go into it. We didn't go into it because we didn't have a lot of time. Yeah. But he, you know, we have like
he talked about it a little bit.
He talked about it a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But
because,
you know,
how he explained it is that the gangs were like really
they was just dancing against each other.
Then it turned into gangs against
just like in New York.
Yeah.
So that's why I said it's literally it's so beautiful when you look at it from a standpoint of like if you look down on it.
Like
you know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, this subculture is happening at the same time over here and over there. It's just they look different. New York look crazy. LA looks nice. But it's the same damn thing happening. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's the same thing.
Right. I like how you
said I'm just being real.
Yeah.
Cube said, you know, you come to LA, you get twisted. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They can look all nice.
Right.
I want to give y'all something. We didn't put this in the film because we didn't have time. When we was doing the research, maybe you probably know this. We was doing the research on like why was this whole situation with Bush and the CIA and all this stuff happening in Los Angeles. And when we started doing the research, we found out that George Bush Sr. lived in Compton. His first daughter actually passed away, and she was in Compton. So during that time, the Black migration was coming into Los Angeles, and all the white folks was like pushing back. So that's why the spook hunters came out. The first gangs was white gangs in Los Angeles. Wasn't Latino, it wasn't Black. The spook hunters was going into the hood and doing Molotov cocktails and whatever. And that's when you have the businessmen, you have the devil hunters, you have different. They was fighting that, but the white gangs was getting support from the LAPD. And this is back in like the 50s and the 60s.
So it's like the Ku Klux Klan.
Exactly. And so when the Black Panthers was like, yo, we're gonna help y'all organize this a little bit better. And that's when you got the Crips. The Crips was originally an organization that was fighting against the white, terrorists, domestic terrorists at that time. And so it changed, but that's the original foundation.
I was just gonna say, so it makes sense then where they get their what do they call is it principles? They had like a certain principles, I believe, but it makes sense because the Black Panthers had their
right.
Okay,
right. Understand, it's like, it's totally different. But what they say, when you have an army without a war, they start turning on each other. So there you go. They didn't really have that war no more because now white folks is gone. You know what I'm saying? That's right here looking at each other.
It wasn't only that; it was also the trafficking of drugs that started coming into the neighborhoods. Yeah. And Shorty goes into that a little bit.
Yeah, he goes into all that.
But my dad, he was there during that time. He said, people were bringing the drugs. They didn't just Black people weren't in the house cooking this stuff up. At first they didn't even know anything about it until that stuff started coming into the neighborhood. So, and then at that time they got a promise to let's move to the suburbs of Moreno Valley, and then now it's gentrified. So it's a crazy situation, but honestly that is happening across the states. You got, I don't want to say conspiracy, but you have a gentrifying culture in the United States. So
Yeah.
Man, listen, we can stay here all night and talk, man. You guys are so dope and so interesting. Hopefully we can have you guys on again. Maybe after the film comes out, we can have you guys back on and talk a little bit about that. But again, on behalf of myself and the journalist Sincere, we'd like to thank you for everything you have done in the past and what you are going to do in the future. You guys are really dope and amazing. I'm glad we've crossed paths. Let's stay connected, please.
Yes, sir.
Let us know anything that you might be working on or have coming out that you would like us to share and promote as well. Feel free to let us know. Last question: who did the soundtrack to the film? Because you mentioned Sir Jinx was supposed to do it. Did you ended up doing the soundtrack for the film?
Yeah, I scored. Okay. Well, me and my sister scored the film, the entire film.
Okay.
Nice. So, music backgrounds.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna have to edit this part out and throw that out there too. Yeah. All right, man. I'm sorry we took up so much time, but it's a pleasure. I will let you guys go. Yeah. It's what time over there now?
It is.
We're central.
Central, yeah.
Right now.
I can't see.
So whatever time it is, we're an hour behind you all.
Hour behind. Okay. So you guys enjoy the rest of the night.
Something, yeah.
And we will talk very soon.
Thank you so much, man. Y'all have a blessed day.
You too.
Thank you.
Keep
it strong.